Hi, good evening, everyone. So, welcome to our webinar for the new Leaving Certificate Life Community and Work programme. My name's Carolyn. I'm a Senior Commissioning Editor on Phones' Post-Primary Publishing team, and I'm delighted to be joined tonight by our excellent author, Caroline McHale. Caroline will be talking you through the specification, what it's all about, and the supports we've developed to help you when you're delivering this new course. The whole webinar is likely to take around 40 minutes. At the end of the webinar, we'll answer questions. Some of you had sent through some questions in advance, but you can also use the chat function to send them through during the webinar. We'll try to get to as many as we can. Obviously, we won't probably have time to get to them all tonight, but hopefully that also gives us a steer on the kind of supports that you are looking for with this course. Just so you know, we're recording this webinar. We'll circulate it afterwards, and we will also share all the PowerPoint slides then. And just before we get started, I have some housekeeping. Caroline, if you could just go on to that next slide there. Yeah, so some housekeeping. So just to make sure that the webinar goes smoothly for you, just test that your sound is playing through your intended device. So if you click more in the taskbar, then click audio settings, and under speaker, select the device you want to listen through. You can turn off your notifications by clicking your profile picture at the top right and setting your status to do not disturb, and just close any other apps and browser tabs to avoid pop-ups. With that bit of housekeeping out of the way, I'll now hand over to Caroline for the presentation.
Okay, thank you very much, Carolyn. Good evening all, and thank you so much for joining in this evening. And I suppose going forward, I would hope and love if this could be a community of teachers where we could share and help each other as we go through it. And commencing with that picture, I'm just after filling my bin with all the post-its and all the work that has been done to complete these resources for life, community and work. I also want to mention Mary Cummins from Closh Own in Hakistan, because she asked me at the TY conference, it would be nice if I do a webinar. So I do hope tonight will be useful. I'll give you some tips and talk through all the different resources and how we can support you as teachers and support our students as learners. I suppose the very first thing is, I think it's really important to give an overview of life, community and work to the actual students. And anyone that knows me knows I love mind maps, and I think this would be a great resource for commencing with, showing them the two modules, the two different strands, looking at me and my future, looking at the community and work, and then what's me and my future all about myself, my personal development, values, skills and statements, and then your career progression, where it's going to go, and then bringing in work. And then going on to module 2, community and work, appreciating it, understanding enterprise in the community, a collaborative problem solving using design thinking, and then also engaging in the workplace. How do you apply for a job, and preparing for and engaging in the workplace. So I think it's important because with the life, community and work, it's kind of like a cylinder, it's building all the time. So even when they have their personal statement done, module 1, strand 1, they'll still continue to actually work on it. I know that you're familiar with the specification, and again, I have mind maps done out on the specification, again, broken up into achievable chunks. And I have them for all the different ones, and I just kind of skimmed through that. There's me and my future, understanding myself, and how it's broken up into achievable chunks, everything defined, explained, and examples. So we have those. I'll actually run to that ones quickly. We have 2, and then community and work, appreciating my community, and then we have community work, engaging with the workplace. And these are ideal, and I'll talk through them later on, for showing students at the beginning to give them an overview, also at the end to recap as well. So I'm going to go through, I like breaking everything down. I'm a business teacher, my background, I like everything in achievable chunks. So the book and portfolio is as one, and in it we have all the learning outcomes. And I've actually gone learning outcome by learning outcome by learning outcome, because until we become very familiar with the specification, I would always be afraid of leaving something out or misinterpreting and not having the full thing there. So it's an achievable chunks. It's broken down the modules. We start the module strand 1 with an overview, then subdivided into units and a review. We have definitions, guided practices, And short case studies, and you're probably wondering why so many short case studies. Well, actually, the case study is brilliant because the written paper, as we know, will have all short little cases and then a question. The brief will actually be a short case and then write on it. And then, of course, for teaching, the case study is a lovely way of introducing something. The learning cycle is so important here. Participate, reflect, and apply. And I'll give you examples of areas where they could participate in. I'd always be careful of not having too many and not having too little. So it's trying to just get it right as such. Make sure that your students write notes as well, and the importance of writing it. I was in UL on Monday at an event for all the universities where the marketing department, through a portfolio, gets them to design a poster for road safety. And it was interesting. We talked about even doing the mind map, and she agreed sometimes you have to hand do them first, because if you're online, it goes against the thinking process and gives you time to kind of process the information. So it'll be state, explain, and apply. And get students applying. That's something that they learned in perhaps as their own club and their local community. They can apply it in their work experience, etc. It's all about the process, and the book will be your passport for life, community, and work. What went well? What could I improve? What have I learned? And it's very much a skills and competency-based subject. For making connections, fill in all the activities. At the beginning, use keywords if you want and elaborate later. Have your reference materials, what books, websites, influencers, podcasts, etc. And when I go through the evening for the skills, be smarter with them. And you'll see things like, if I'm doing skills, I'll make sure to do innovation because that's on for enterprise. You'll continually be updating, you'll continually be looking for examples, and you'll be continually applying. So I'm kind of going to give you a brief kind of thing through the book. Remember I said we start the strand with an introduction. So the first one is understanding myself. Who am I? We give an overview. We talk about the learning cycle. We tell them what the applied learning task is, where they're creating a personal statement and they're developing it. And we bring in the written paper as well, because remember, that is 40%. We commence every unit, and every learning outcome is divided into units with pause and prepare. Don't presume that the students are empty vessels. So do I understand what personal development means? Because that's actually the first part of strand 1. Can I identify my main strengths? I know how to set clear and achievable goals. So you take yes, no before, and at the end of the unit, you go back and see it. And remember, for the paper, the first 10 questions are short answer questions, and the first one would be true or false. So it's getting into that statement and true or false. Participate. We've lots of little participation activities to get started with. Divide into 4 groups, 4 sheets of paper, looking at the school, home, social, and community, and how a person might develop them in school. I could improve on time management. I always give an example, because I found when we were trying this out with students, they couldn't think of an example. So if you give them an example, it just makes it that much easier to get started. We know the SWOT analysis is very important. So thinking about your future, we explain it, we give the rationale. And again, we start with a little case. Amina there is a 5th year student, and we look at her strengths, but we take it in school and we take it outside of school as well. And then we follow that by filling your own SWOT analysis. So can you see your book will be building up, learning, adding, giving you loads and loads of information. The same goes for the SMARTER model. Now, the SMARTER model is kind of new because we were used to doing SMART, but SMART never made sense because we never evaluated or revisited. I started to keep fit and I found I couldn't keep up to what I was doing. So now I have to revisit and change that. I won't be able to get to where I want to get at the end of it. So again, we have that example. We then apply it. And this is a student who wants to improve Leaving Cert Irish. So we make it very relevant and what they need to do. And we go through all the different examples and then apply it to yourself. And you can see you're building, you're learning, you're writing, you're applying. It's preparing you for your portfolio It's preparing you for the written paper and all the learnings that you're doing there. So apply it, bring it in to home, school, work, in the community, and in my future career. So, and again, examples given, and then you can fill it in yourself. Reflection will be a huge element, and it's constantly there. So we start with explaining it. Then it helps you to understand what's working well, what you find challenging, what have you learned, what might you do differently the next time. And when you reflect, you think about things that you're proud of, things that are challenging. You might notice the same skills or attitudes can help you at home, at school, or the community. And again, with reflection, we would have a task with reflection afterwards to ensure that they learn it and that they have an example and space left in the book. At each unit, we commence with an overview, and then we finally finish with a review. In this unit, you explored what personal development meant and how understanding yourself can help you grow. You identified your strengths and challenges to a SWOT analysis, and you learned to plan through the SMARTER model. And then they go back and they revisit the pause and prepare. Now I'm just showing extracts. And again, anyone who knows me, the importance of learning, the importance of assessing. So assess your knowledge, write out the answers, and again, writing them out. And we also have exam type questions as well, similar to the written paper. Again, we've lots of ticking the box because we're going to be starting our personal statement. Who am I? Have I all the different things? What can I do? What do I do next? What could I participate to actually help me with this? Evidence will be huge. We'll be building up this digital portfolio. That's kind of like our rough work. When I was explaining to students, I said it's like the messy drawer that you have in the kitchen. I don't know if everyone has a messy drawer, but I have with all the different things in it. And that's what your digital portfolio will be. Loading up mind maps. It might be examples of feedback. It might be photographs. It might be videos, etc. And can you see we've put in the reflection, helping them to reflect on the evidence as well. In developing a personal statement, which is coming to the end of that unit for the applied learning task, create and develop one, we start again with a case study. And we put in just kind of a very simple one, and then we look at a more detailed one with much more evidence and how students can improve. And that's what it's all about, building on it and actually improving on it as well. And again, then look back over your personal statement. Have I the values, the aptitudes, achievements? So everything is in there, a checklist. And we don't know the portfolio and action that we'll be submitting yet. That's not coming out in September. So I would hope to have more webinars if that suited you to work on that. But we do know the features of quality are participating, reflecting, applying, and communicating. I would have a poster up with participate. What did you participate in today? Did you do your reflection? Can you apply that somewhere else? And the importance of communication. And a lot of the questions, say even in the paper or when they'll be writing up their final portfolio, there will be reflections, there will be the importance of how you communicate. So communication comes into everything. And remember how I said, be smart with your skills. Start with communications and continually bring it in because it's going to be the feature of quality. So we're talking about when you look at the specification, there's this digital portfolio. I'd be saying that's your rough work. And they have created portfolios in transition year. Get them to put that in as well. Put that in as a little folder because I build on that. Because even in the exam, actually, they talk about a student who did work experience in TY. So it's all building, building, building. It's multimodal. It's not going to be assessed, this digital portfolio. So you can put up what you want, when you want, etc. Keep updating in and out of class activities. And I suppose, you know, I might give a day during the Christmas holidays, or just the Christmas test probably, to say maybe start updating things, or this will be part of your assessment, etc. Remember, when they're going to be assessing the final portfolio, it'll be on all learning outcomes, the applied learning tasks, activities, senior cycle experiences, and out of school experiences as well. Skills are so important and they become your competencies, and that skills are transferable. So keep bringing in your learning cycle for the skill. What did I participate in? Reflect on it. Could I apply this somewhere else? And be able to communicate it. And again, if I'm doing skills, I would start with, this is what a skill is. Why is it important to have transferable skills? And remember when Imogen was spending a few million updating their Dublin place, I was kind of saying, you're moving out to Eastern Europe and because of the cheap labor, why are you spending so much money here? And they said that the Dublin place was actually great because of the transferability that employees were able, if there was a production line that stopped and there was changes, that they were actually able to use those skills. So they're really important in the workplace. They're really important in the future. So I would be discussing creativity, collaboration, because remember they have to do a collaborative task. So what's important in that? Problem solving, always asking questions and thinking about it and being resilient, bringing that in when we get feedback saying, look, could this make me a better person? Like I'd say to the students, sure, look, you want to get your H1 in Irish, how are you going to do that? And risk taking as well. And the STAR method for the competencies is a really good methodology for explaining it. So if they're asked in a competency, if you were filling in a competency application form for define something that you did in leadership, well, you describe the situation, the S is for situation, the task, what needed to be done, what was your role, the action, what you did, and the result, what happened as a result of what you learned. Activities. Now we could have loads and loads and loads of activities, but we need to be realistic. Anyone knows me, I like things to be very achievable. I like everything to be in the one place, and I want it to be ensured that we can actually do it. We know things like to get them to register with revenue. I'll be smart as well with my TY students. I think it would be important getting them doing that as well, and then looking it up again when you're looking at live community and work. Careers portal will be a fantastic resource. I'm not sure who's on here tonight. I've just arrived back here in Balmullet, and Careers portal for me is the ideal resource. I know there are probably guidance counsellors on, and if there are, you're very welcome and delighted that there is such a subject that includes careers they have to actually do and can be part of the Leaving Cert. Open days, they can be learning there for the higher options. Ask them to bring some of the learning outcomes and check, tick them off, and can they learn from that? Teamwork is important, design thinking. Some of them will have covered that in business, so there'll be an overlap there. Volunteering. Now, they do a 3-day work experience. Volunteering could be that, or volunteering could be just out by its own. Get them doing some volunteer work in the school. Enterprise, get them to research an organization or an entrepreneur, or how they don't learn all now about market research, marketing mixes. It's all about how an organization solves a problem, how it helps in the community. When they're doing their 3-day work experience, be smart, get that interview done for their career progression plan. Role play an interview. Source a payslip, and the payslip will come up. And again, it's a very basic payslip, the competency-based form. Get them to source an advertisement. Now, again, I'd be saying maybe in TY to do that. Now in LCW, Live Community and Work, compare the two. And that actually is a question that has come up in the sample paper. And networking. And have out of school experiences, but you don't want too many. But what I'd be saying to every student, are you involved in a club? Are you involved in the Tidy Towns? Are you involved in some kind of organization? And let's bring in that into your live community and work. We know there are 4 applied learning tasks. The first is create and develop a personal statement, create a career progression plan, and outline how it aligns with your personal statement. So you have to be bringing in your personal statement there again. Reflect on the role you played, the I, in a collaborative problem-solving task, and create and assess a plan. And I'd keep to the one plan. I'd use the smarter model for the plan, for every single plan. That will respond to feedback on your engagement with the workplace and focus on future progress and development. And the applied learning tasks are important, but remember the portfolio will be the best of your work. So there could be additional things in there on skills. We will know more detail about that in September, October. But the fantastic thing about the State Exams Commission, they will only ask what's in the learning outcomes. And for those who've seen the paper today, it is extremely fair. And I felt I was just reading my book, looking through those questions at the event there. I mentioned the mind maps. They're fantastic to give an overview. They're fantastic to review. Get them editing it, get them drawing it out again themselves, getting them adding in their own experiences, skills, examples. And I used to get big A1 sheets. If you see my house at the moment, it's all just blank sheets and sheets written out. And if they had that sheet, it's very easy to look at that strand and say, what's good here? What will I pick? How will I refine? What will I do going forward to choose from? The brief, the portfolio in action, we know will be 60%. And it's all about understanding themselves, how they developed and how they apply their learning. The book will be your passport, as I mentioned earlier. Everything is done in step formation, building, adding, reflecting. You'll respond, you'll use your digital portfolio, which will have all your evidence and your rough work, and there's no set format for that to respond to the brief. And they've given what you should do, get started, again, using the smarter to prepare for it. And you'll use your book and your portfolio, you'll reflect and refine, and you'll finalize your best work. Referencing won't be included in the word count, which we don't know what it is at the moment. And you would put in illustrations, sketches, graphs, images, charts, tables, photographs, websites, books, reports, podcasts, etc. Revision is really important. And I suppose the importance of getting students to using the book, the resources, the digital portfolio, the portfolio in action, knowing all the learning outcomes, practice the writing and building up 5 minutes on unit 1, revise again, unit 2, 5 minutes, but also spend some time on unit 1. I'm huge into memory and learning and how students remember, and the brain deletes information unless we have review and recall, and the importance of actually having that as such. We know the written paper is 200 marks. It's 2 hours. There's 6 questions. Question 1 is compulsory. And it's kind of an eclectic mix of questions. Some of them only have one part. Sometimes it's divided into 2 parts, which is to help the weaker student. Remember, it's a common level paper. Others are a short case and answer the question, newspaper clippings, fill in the blanks, true or false statement, a missing term, or a diagram, say, from the CSO. And then questions 2 to 6 have 4 parts. You answer 4 of them, and 35 marks each. I was working out the minutes, the real business teacher here, and how long you spend and all the different things there. So fantastic that we got to see the papers today, the 2 sample papers. There is nothing to be afraid of. I have to commend the state exams on the actual papers, and everything was covered and was just straight from the actual learning outcomes as such. So for the resources, I suppose, the first thing is we have unit plans. Now, again, we'll be continually working on those and adding in hyperlinks as things go along. We also have yearly plans, how much to get done in an actual year. Now, it's going to depend on your school also, and timetable might come up later on, is that, how will it be timetabled? Will the guidance counsellor be covering the guidance element, which there's a huge amount of guidance in this subject, which in actual fact they'll be doing anyhow. So it's just making sure to collate it and bringing it in as such there. We will have podcasts. There's podcasts available online, and they're really good to listen to. I like podcasts. We tried them out with some of the students. They love them. There's PowerPoints. We will have online reflections, online resources to help you with reflections, to help you building up your portfolio, etc. And a teacher resource book with actually all of that. And finally, the making connections. I suppose what I would like going forward is how might we support you? Would you like additional webinars, things that you would need? What would make the ideal for it? I really believe, I've just seen the first part of the book there, it just follow it step by step. Everything is covered in it, writing, learning, remembering, building, and coming back and revisiting. And at the end of it then, you're continually uploading material into your digital portfolio, And when we'll get the brief, if you were interested, we could look again at what could be done there, etc. I'm conscious that there are questions. If there's other things, I suppose, that we can do to help you, I really would love to do that. It's a fabulous subject. And I'm not just saying that. I really believe it's going to be, students are just going to love it. Us as teachers, when something is new, we've always concern, like, do I spend typing up my, say the CV and how many words and stuff like that? Don't get bogged down with that at the moment. Move on. You'll see as you go through the book, have a look. Oh yeah, that's the CV. That's what it contains. This is my career progression plan. This is what I should be doing there. I really want to thank the teachers who reviewed this material and the students, and Folens for going ahead and actually getting to print this book. It would have been easier to wait until next September, but I really feel you need the book from day one. And you need to go into the classroom and have everything there and ready to get started as such. And also you for actually logging in tonight. So I think rather than me, is there questions that would be
Yeah.
that I should take?
Well, thanks a million for that, Caroline. I think it really made the course very clear and also just the resource that's there. So we've had a few questions come in via the emails. So a big question that's coming up for people is how to timetable this subject in schools. So would you have any insights on that?
Okay, in actual fact, and I know there's a principal or two on here tonight as well, and I have been getting lots of questions on that. I'm going to say something. I think every student should be doing life, community and work, because you really need to know, how to look at your career. You're looking at your career anyhow, you're doing it with your guidance counselor. You need to look at your transferable skills, etc. So I'd love to see everybody doing it. If I was a principal, I would timetable it as a subject option for the weaker students. So have it on a line. For other students, so you could have an eclectic mix. I would have it as an additional subject. So you're looking at 2 periods, 2 1 hours. If they're doing careers anyhow, and they're already doing that, you might be only looking for that 1 period. In other schools, you might decide to do it against those who are not doing Irish. So you might do it there. So they're kind of what I'm thinking with LCW. Okay.
That's brilliant. Thank you so much, Caroline, for that. Now, just other questions I'm seeing coming in. There's one I can answer here. Some teachers are wondering if there's going to be planning and schemes of work provided. And I know that we have plans and schemes of work on the teaching resources. This will be a printed resource. They'll also be available online and they'll be editable as well. So you can adjust them for your own purposes, but we will have all that planning available and it is available in the sample materials.
Okay, and I
Another
think that's really
question.
important that it's editable, because as teachers, we like to make it our own. And what I'd be saying is add in and make it. And the other thing to be careful of is that there isn't just too many handouts and too many different things. Concise it in as well as what I'd be saying, because you can have overload as well as underload.
Another question that's coming in or has come in the emails is there much guidance to be given on the digital portfolio? I know you spoke about it a bit there. Could you run over maybe a bit more the types of things they'd be expected to include in that?
Well, for the digital portfolio, remember the digital portfolio is not assessed. So what you're doing there is having all the evidence in there. So I would be putting up everything from I logged into revenue. You might take a screenshot of that. I logged into careers portal. There might be podcasts. There might be books you could reference. There might be an image you drew. There could be a plan. And it's really, you can put up some word process material if you like, if you're kind of just wondering, oh, maybe I should have a little bit, maybe on the personal statement, that's fine. But remember, it's not assessed. And think of it as that messy drawer where you will be keeping everything and adding onto it, etc. Because when the brief will come, you'll have to decide, think of it like the artist portfolio. So it's kind of very different to the LCVP portfolio. You're choosing your best, you're refining it, and you're saying why you chose it. And we know the ALTs will be important, but if you read the ACC, and I'm such a fanatic on guidelines and ensuring that you're covered, it mentions that a variety of learning experience guided by the learning outcomes and the ALTs, development of key competencies, and through the learning cycle of participating, reflecting, and applying.
Great. So the teacher in the chat asking, how do we know what to cover in year one when we don't know what the AAC is until term one of sixth year?
You follow the book, follow the plans that we have. You will have quite a substantial amount. And I mean, if you like, we can do a webinar later on checking to see how people are coming and what's happening and keep moving on. Like I went into a school and we opened up revenue to log on, and sure, by the time the class was over, we nearly hadn't. So you have to get smart about things. So I might demonstrate, you do that tonight at home, etc. So I think as teachers, we're kind of saying, oh my goodness, we don't know what the brief is. We'll know, we'll get a sample brief. I think it's September, October in fifth year. So that will really, really guide us. So what I'd say is keep working, keep them doing it. And the book is done in a really nice way. I think you're really going to enjoy it, and the students are going to enjoy it. And the students, we've tried it out, they really like it, because the very first unit talking about values and strengths and stuff, it's hard, but we've simplified it. We've given examples, we've given little cases, we've made it so achievable.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Another teacher here asking, would it be okay to do 40 minutes twice a week in the scheduling? Would that be okay for us?
It will the guide see they'll be doing guide if they're doing guidance with the guidance teacher, yes, of course. And we all know as and I presume a lot of you are still teaching LCVP, we were the poor relation. You know, I went back teaching after 20 years, and the timetable was dreadful, and I didn't even have them in my class, and it was just crazy. So I think as LCVP teachers, we're used to concising it and stuff, but I wouldn't like to see that happening too much. But I would link with the guidance counselor this material they're doing. They're looking at their career progression, and a lot of them have covered quite a lot. We found to into schools in TY. The careers portal does a whole careers thing with them, and students are developing their portfolio and beginning to do that, etc. So when I say be smart about it, and a bit like I mentioned earlier on tonight, when you're doing the skills, start doing the enterprise skills and the collaborative skills and the resilience, so you have those covered for the strands later on.
There's a teacher here asking, is there any particular app you'd recommend for storing the digital portfolio, such as OneNote?
I think it'll be up to each school, and I think that's I you know, I don't want to go recommending one over another, but if you know, some schools are going whatever you're using at the moment, whatever they've used themselves, rather than creating something new.
I have a question here that I think I can answer. Teacher was wondering, could we put the questions, I presume the feedback forms and that sort of thing that we have in the book, in a digital format as well? We will have those available, sort of templates for that in our digital material. So things like reflection templates and feedback templates. But the ones in the book can be quite specific to the task, and we'll also have then general ones so they can use those for the digital portfolio as well. But obviously it's a multimodal portfolio, so they'll have to have all their other bits, as you mentioned. Just
and the other thing, I suppose, Caroline, I'm so the importance of writing. It's interesting, we had a new resource out on fire safety, and the students were interviewed who are now in fifth year. There was an external assessment by the insurance company who provided the funding, and two groups of students had only covered the material online. They didn't use the hardcover booklets because they hadn't come in time and blah, 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 whatever. And the ones who used the hardcover booklets could remember more of what they had done. And I found that just fascinating. And I said, I rest my case, because they wanted just to have them digital at the time. So remember this written paper as well. And when you're writing, when you're handwriting, it gives your brain more time to process the information.
Yeah. Great. So we have a question here. Will the subject be classed as a practical, so 24 students per class, like LCVP was? Do we have that information?
I don't have that information, but what I'd be saying is that'll depend on a whole load of things. It'll depend on if you're timetabling it against a particular thing. I would be pushing for it. I'd be saying that this is very much experiential learning. It's very much, you know, there's so much activities, etc. involved. And I would be just getting onto the unions to have that as a practical subject.
It's great. So we're coming up to sort of 40 minutes in this webinar, so I think we'll probably have to put an end to the questions. Um, Sorry, there's just more coming in there. I think we'll maybe have to put end and perhaps answer them at the next webinar. Um, so the reps, they will be coming to schools. There is a printed sample out. If you want more information, you can contact your reps. And I just want to really thank Caroline for giving us all that insight. And I also want to just thank the sales and marketing teams, in particular Emma, India, and Katerina for facilitating this webinar. And for all you attendees for giving us your time. I know it's such a busy time of year. I hope you find it beneficial. India's popping a quick survey in the chat. It would be really great if we could get your feedback because it will inform the kind of supports we can provide moving forward. There'll also be a follow-up email with all the slides, and the survey will be sent around in that as well. So if you could give us your time just to give some feedback on the webinar, that would be great. And thank you so much for coming, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your evening.